Hello Comp 194 folks. So in this video I'm going to talk about the learning goals we have for this class and how we're going to assess your work because we're using an alternative grading system. It's a bit of an experiment for me, so there may be tweaks to it as the semester goes along. But fundamentally, it's a different way of thinking about how you're graded for the course. So let me go and show you the learning goals document. This is accessible to you in Moodle. There are 5 overarching learning goals, and then they break down into lots of little pieces inside of that, and they run the gamut from being about writing, about programming, about computer vision, and about like college, the transition to college, which is part of what we want you to get out of a first year course. So the very first learning goal is in fact about college skills. So these are explicitly things that we're going to talk about during class and that I'm going to hope that you are developing over the course of the term. So the goal for you is that you will practice good learning skills for Macallister's courses. That means locating and seeking help from instructors and preceptors or the Max Center, which is they'll be located in the fall in the library, and they can help with tutoring in various different topics and also with things like time management and helping you with writing and things like that. So one of our goals is that you know how to and are willing to seek that kind of help and get over any feelings of that it's not appropriate or nervousness about having to do these things. So I may actually require you to go and talk to someone in the Max Center at some point. We also want you to be able to reflect on your understanding of course ideas and articulate the questions that you have and the points of confusion. This is sometimes called metacognitive reasoning. You're not just knowing things, but you're actually thinking about what you know and being able to accurately assess it. Students who do well tend to be able to accurately assess what they understand and what they don't understand. So we'll be practicing that. Collaborating with peers during in-class discussions and activities in a way that is inclusive and respectful and effective. I don't expect you to be perfect on those things, but we want you to be practicing those skills over the course of the semester. Examining closely assigned course materials, including highlighting, identifying, and/or summarizing key ideas. So I'll give you an opportunity to do those kinds of things over the course of the term as one way to demonstrate that you are prepared for class, for instance. So there are prepare for class assignments. The ethics and sci-fi will get at some of these ideas and because it involves discussions in class and the in-class work. So you'll notice that all of these are low stakes assignments because it's an important goal. It's not central to the course content. It's just part of what I want you to work on over the course of this term. The second learning goal is programming skills and ideas. This is like learning to program and learning to program in Python specifically. So students will master the basics of function-based programming in the context of the Python programming language, including labeling and describing the purpose and result of Python statements, operations, and control structures. So that means being able to read Python code and identify what are the variables, what are the keywords, what is the purpose of various statements, being able to actually trace through code by hand. Revising, extending, and debugging multifunction programs in Python. So taking code that I give you and adding to it, taking code that someone else wrote and debugging it, and writing your own code, which that's covered in a later one. So creating a function-sized algorithm in pseudocode that describes a process. So that's like writing out an algorithm, writing out a task in English, but structured English that kind of looks like code, and then being able to create Python functions and whole programs from scratch. So those are all of the main programming ideas. There's some other things that are also important, like understanding data and different kinds of data that just aren't listed here. This will include preparing for class, in-class work, homework assignments, coding quizzes, the final project. This is a key element, and so we have lots of ways that this is assessed. Computer vision skills and ideas. I'm not going to go over all of these because this video will get too long, but that you're able to understand different computer vision tools to evaluate whether they would be effective or useful and to actually put them into practice. And again, we'll have lots of places where you do that over the course of the semester. The fourth goal is personal and AI ethics. So examining situations that involve personal or AI ethics, applying ethical frameworks and reasoning, and being able to determine what is the ethical choice that you would choose to make. So there's a whole list here of how that's going to work. This will mostly be around the ethics and sci-fi, and then the essays that you'll be writing, and the essay part of the final project. The last learning goal is argumentative writing, because that's where we're an argumentative writing course, so that you'll demonstrate that you can write at a college level and do an argumentative style of essay. That means you're trying to convince someone of something. A lot of times people will argue that unless it's creative writing, even like scientific papers are trying to convince their audience that what they've done is valuable work. So argumentative can be pretty broad. Here are some ideas that are important for this. We have a set of low stakes and high stakes writing assignments for you to practice over the course of the semester. So this is just a summary table that shows how the different assignment categories fit into the different learning goals. You can see it's not all equal, but that's the way it's supposed to be. So those are our goals. And from there, what I've done is to design a grading system that does not involve points, but it does involve paying attention to how well you are mastering different topics. So the idea here is that you will have opportunities to demonstrate that you've mastered a topic. Once you've demonstrated it, you may not ever have to demonstrate it again. But you will also, if you don't master that topic, you will have additional opportunities to, up to a certain point, to revise and resubmit your work. So how does that work in practice? Well, for high stakes assignments, you will get a rating that's either gold, silver, bronze, or redo. And a gold rating means that you have met or exceeded any expectations for the assignment. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. There could be small flaws in what you have submitted, and this is particularly true for complex assignments, but that you are fundamentally, you have met the requirements of the assignment, and you're doing well. A silver rating means that your work is substantially correct, but there's definitely a sign that you're missing something, that you're getting something wrong, you're misunderstanding something, or you just haven't quite hit the level, say, of fluency in writing that we're looking for. If you have detailed specifications, your work will meet most of the base specifications that we give you, but not all of them. A bronze rating is kind of, you show that there's something there, you understand something, but there are significant issues. So maybe something's incomplete, but the part that's there looks right. Or maybe I can tell that you've kind of got the right direction, but you're just not actually able to carry something out. So a bronze rating, one bronze rating here or there isn't going to hurt you in the end, but it does mean that you might want to try to redo at that point. And a redo rating means you just didn't get there. You were doing totally the wrong thing, or you didn't attempt the question, or whatever. And so it's just at that point you will need to try to redo that work later. For low stakes assignments, we just have two ratings. We have satisfactory, which means, yep, you attempted the assignment, you got it. And not yet means you didn't submit it, typically. If you submit something for a low stakes assignment, you will most likely get satisfactory. So not yet is often just a rating for, well, you didn't submit this one. All right, in addition to the rating, you will receive feedback on most assignments about how to improve. And you can always bring those assignments in and ask for assistance in preparing to redo a particular assignment. For high stakes assignments, you will have opportunities to redo or revise the work you've already done, either at a future date, or sometimes we'll let you just redo the actual task that you attempted. For low stakes assignments, you won't be redoing work you've submitted, but you will have an opportunity to improve on future work. And since you don't need to do every single one in order to get a good grade, it works out in the end. All right, so there is a checklist of what you need to earn each grade in the class that's in this document. I'm not going through all of the details. I'm also going to make a spreadsheet for each of you where I'm going to be marking down what I have as your scores. We will also have the scores in Moodle, but Moodle can't quite handle this kind of alternative grading well, so it won't be able to tell you for sure what grade you are looking at for any particular component. But this is what you need to do in order to get an A or a B or a C or a D. And there might be places where you kind of fall in between these, and that's where like an A minus or B plus, B minus might come into play. So you can read through these on your own and ask me questions about them. I already talked about this a little bit, but there are high stakes assignments. This last section is really just a detailed description of the assignments that we'll have. I encourage you to read through it. I'm not going to talk through it all right now. But there's also a section at the end here about why we're doing alternative grading. So, I mean, you're an international group, so you may be coming from a different grading system than we typically have in the United States. But this is definitely different than most grading systems. And the idea is to shift the focus off of earning points, which leads to people coming in and asking, well, can't you just give me one more point on this particular question? When it isn't even necessarily going to make any difference. And to focus on whether you're achieving the goals that we have and marking that achievement. So we simplify things down to just those ratings, and we give you opportunities to redo, to show later that you've mastered something if you didn't master it the first time. It's to give more flexibility to students and also to make really clear what's important and what's less important among the things that we're doing. So hopefully you should read through this. There's a lot more in here. You can go and look about alternative grading out there in the world. I think I might even have a couple of links. I also talk about my specific motivations and why I'm doing this. So go and take a look at those. So alternative grading may seem new. It will not be it is certainly not going to be the case that every class you take will be doing alternative grading, although it does happen quite a bit at Macalester. My other class that I'm teaching this fall is going to have points, although it's got some aspects of alternative grading, like flexibility on due dates and things like that. So just expect that things will be different from class to class. In the end, you will get a letter grade for the class, and that's the only thing that anyone is ever going to see out of it. And as I said, this is my first time doing this particular class, so there's possibility that some of these criteria might change, but we will discuss that as a class. I won't change it behind your back or anything like that. All right, I'm going to stop there. I will see you very soon.